Hey, good morning. It's Mark here with another morning rant. It's been a long time. I shouldn't have left you without a dope beat to step to. No, it's too early in the morning for this. What we got? It's 4:30. I normally start out saying that a lot is going on in the news, and a lot has been happening since the last time I've given a morning rant. I don't have a particular subject to focus on today because I'm just going to give an update or a brief review of what's been going on from my eyes. First, my wife is doing a lot better. Thank you guys for the prayers and well wishes. She's doing great. She's still got a long way to go, but she's doing great so far. So far, so good. And we got some other crazy news that's been going on. Good news, but crazy. But I won't dwell into that right now. But right now, we got so much going on in the news. We got federal prosecutors that are now investigating the January 6th insurrection by Republicans. When you talk about voter fraud, this is voter fraud. What they're doing, what the GOP was doing, they got false, fake, fraudulent electors in not one state, and not 3 states, and not 5 states, but 7 states. They got fraudulent electors in 7 states to sign their name to documents saying that they were the actual electors. I've talked about this before. Go back to 1877 and Rutherford B. Hayes election. Rutherford B. Hayes and Samuel J. Tilden. That was actual fraud in South Carolina and Louisiana and places like that, right? That was actual fraud in those cases. And so they had 2 sets of electors go up to the Congress. And Rutherford B. Hayes was able to go into a back room and negotiate some things and get the presidency from the legislature, from the Congress. And in doing so, the South said, we'll give you our electors if you take the rest of the federal troops out of the South. Take the federal troops out of the South. That gave the Democrats power in the South, and that brought on Jim Crow and segregation and separate but equal for the next 100 years. So Rutherford B. Hayes brought on separate but equal and segregation and Jim Crow laws after he was elected to the White House. He wanted the White House so bad that he gave up rights for black Americans in this country for 100 years. But that was actual blatant fraud, and I can go into detail about that, but just look it up. The election of 1877, Rutherford B. Hayes and Samuel J. Tilden. They tried to implement fraud this time. There was no fraud on the state and local level. There was no fraud. There were no confusion amongst who the electors were going to be. Everybody knew who the electors were going to be. Everybody certified the true electors. But we found out in the last 2 weeks that Rudy Giuliani was the arrow's head of all of this. He got with people in those contested, or not contested, but those battleground states. It was 7 battleground states. He got with people in those states to say, hey, let's send in another set of electors. Not symbolically, because what Pennsylvania did was they said, hey, in the case that the Supreme Court decide that our election was a fraud, here is a separate slate of electors. That's not what they did. That's not what the other states did. What the other states said was, these are our true electors. Even though the Congress and the Congress and the Senate and the governor of each state certified that these are our electors, the fraud people say, no, these are our electors. And to prove it was fraud, they sent it to the National Archivist. They sent it to the Senate. They sent that fraudulent document to every legitimate place it was supposed to go. And those people who did not want to sign those documents, those electors that did not want to sign those documents, they just replaced them and found another person to sign. Blatant fraud. So now you got state investigators looking into it, and now you got the Department of Justice looking into it. So let's say that Trump had nothing to do with January 6th, even though he kind of stoked the flames a little bit, and some of the other people that was there stoked the flames a little bit. Let's say he had absolutely nothing to do with the storming of the Capitol. They were trying to go and do an end around or a flank with the Constitution, which is even though people died that day, even though they violated protocol, which is far worse than what they did on January 6th. Trump was actually trying to get Vice President Pence to say, we're not going to take these electors, send it back to the states. But they were all legit. So we got that going on. Here's another piece of news. And shout out to Rachel Maddow, who was the first one to break this story and to stay on it. In another news, Stephen Breyer, Supreme Court Justice, Associate Justice, he has announced his retirement. Now, I submit to you that I think he was pressured into resigning because the man is about 80-something years old, and the Democrats want to get a Supreme Court pick before the midterm elections in November this year. Why do they want to do that? Because the Democrats are afraid that if they lose the Senate, Mitch McConnell is going to come in and try to block his Supreme Court pick. So while the Congress is still 50-50, while the Senate is still 50-50, I think that private pressure was put on Stephen Breyer to go ahead and announce his retirement. So he's going to renounce. He announced his retirement. He's going to retire at the end of the session. At the end of the Supreme Court session, which I think is about April, May, or June, somewhere up in there. And once he retires, they're going to bring in Joe Biden get to pick his nominee for the Supreme Court, and it has to go through the Senate. And because they still have a 50+1 majority, they can get who they want to get in. And so Joe Biden has made a promise, a campaign promise. I will nominate a black woman to the Supreme Court. And of course, Fox Entertainment is acting terrible about that, saying that why don't you just choose the best? See, here's the kicker here. Why don't you choose the best person for the job? Don't relegate it to race, sex, religious creed, or whatever. Why don't you just choose the best person? Well, the problem with that is every time you want to choose the best person in most cases can be a black person or a Latino person or a woman or whatever. But the system is designed not to select these people. The system is designed to give it to white men. Sandra Day O'Connor was the first. Was it Sandra Day O'Connor? She was the first female Supreme Court justice nominated under Reagan, I believe. And then you had Ruth Bader Ginsburg. Barack came in and gave us Sonia Sotomayor and Elena Kagan. We have Thurgood Marshall, who's the first black Supreme Court justice, and then we have Justice Thomas, who took his place after Thurgood Marshall resigned. Okay, so we've had two black men on the court. Whether they were liberal or conservative is not the point. It's about breaking barriers. So we've had Thurgood Marshall, Justice Thomas. We've had females on the court, but we haven't had a black female. I submit to you, we need an Asian man on the court, an Asian woman on the court. We need to make the Supreme Court look like America, and America is not non-white men. So saying that you're going to choose a black person or a black woman for this position is not saying that person is not the best qualified, because there have been black people, white people, Asian people, whoever, that have been qualified for the position, but for whatever reason they were not chosen. So Joe Biden is well within his power to say, I'm going to select a black woman for this position, and I say, good for you. Go ahead and do it. The best qualified person should get the job. And he said, I'm going to make sure the best qualified black woman get the job. And I also submit to you that Harvard and Yale are not the only colleges and universities that produce smart people that should be on the Supreme Court. If you look at the Supreme Court now, majority of the people on the court have been through Harvard and Yale, or hell, sometimes both. So let's choose other colleges, other universities. Let's choose a HBCU. Let's choose other people, and I'll submit to you this: some of the women that are nominated, that may be in the nomination process of getting elected. I think there are like 9 potential women, black women. I would say a majority of those women have gone through Harvard or Yale at one point. So we got that going on. Then of course we got Fox Entertainment and Tucker Carlson. He's still siding with Russia, which is crazy to me. He's siding with Russia over Ukraine. Ukraine being a democratically elected government, and Russia, of course, being an oligarch. And you got Fox Entertainment going along with this. It's crazy out there. Now here's another kicker, and I'm gonna end it. Joe Biden is producing the best economy in American history since 1984, but you won't know it because, of course, people go by their pockets. What's going on in your pocket? And you may be, gas prices here, and Dollar Tree went up to 25 cents there, and inflation's run amok there, and that's kind of dampening what Joe Biden's been doing. But black folk, listen to me, black folk. Don't think for 1 second that Joe Biden has not done anything for black America, because he has. He has. It's not all about finances in your pocket, okay? It's about a lot more. I watched Roland Martin, who talked about, he did a report on HBCUs and how a national news station did shoddy investigative work on Joe Biden's black university agenda. So he went and did a follow-up on their reporting and got them to take down that shoddy reporting. And you had students out there saying that, Joe Biden hasn't done what he said he was going to do, la, 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 la. Well, that was a spreadsheet. Roland Martin called the Congressional Black Caucus. He talked to other people in the know. He talked to some of the financial people. He called James Clyburn, who was the congressional whip for the Democrats in the House, and got the information that these other reporters should have gotten. And it was determined that Joe Biden is giving more to HBCUs than any other president in history. And it's right there in black and white. So when it comes to HBCUs, when it comes to lifting poor people, and black folk are not the poorest in the country, but when it comes to lifting children out of poverty, when it comes to HBCUs and things like that, Joe Biden is doing stuff for America, even though Kristen Sinema and Joe Manchin are blocking some of his legislative agendas. We just had a bridge crash in Pennsylvania, I think. And we need infrastructure in this country. So a lot has been going on. And over the next couple of days, if I have the time, I'm going to try to break some of this stuff down. So thank you guys for sticking around. If thank you guys for being members of the channel. I appreciate the support. I'm back at work today, so that's why the button-down shirt is on. You guys have a great Monday. Hope you had a great weekend, and I will see you on the next one. All right, y'all take care. I'm out.